Ladies and gentlemen, it is 1:45 p.m. on Thursday, March 12, 2020. I am Venerable Thich Thong Lai. I would like to extend my warmest greetings to all the people in the country and the people living abroad. This morning, I was very busy doing some cleanup work at Tham Nguyen Temple, number 1 in Renton City. To prepare the site for the city goes down to inspect the premises. We need to prepare a proper code to obtain the license for reconstructing because this temple is very old. I was occupied this morning due to the cleaning around the premises of the temple. However, I received an email from several Buddhist followers group in the United States. They also called me, and at the same time they emailed me as well. The reason was that they did not agree with President Donald Trump to use the U.S. budget to aid the Vietnamese communists $37 million to fight the Corona Wuhan outbreak that is raving in Vietnam. I invite you to follow this letter in my hand. I will have the answer as I promised my Buddhist follower groups in the United States. They seem to be frustrated and do not agree that U.S. President Donald Trump's decision, even though he knew that the communist government and its top leaders were the experts in bribery. They pocket the aid money to go golfing with the golf membership of 3 to 4 billion dongs. They travel on airplanes that cost 360,000 USD a trip. They spend the aid money on personal pleasures and living in 2 or 3 houses at the red capitalists. Why is President Donald Trump taking money from the U.S. Federal Reserve but not the money of the World Bank or the International Monetary Funds in the $50 billion aiding package? He immediately dispensed $37 million. He recently removed Vietnam from the list of developing countries, and then he had the 7th Fleet 7 bring aircraft carriers to Da Nang. After all of that, he now considers donating the Vietnamese communists $7 million to prevent the Corona flu. Therefore, many of my disciples in the United States are very dissatisfied about this issue. They want me to comment about this. I would like to invite the people of the country and overseas compatriots to hear this letter from a group of my disciples. At the same time, listen to my comments on the reason why U.S. President Donald Trump donated $37 million to the Vietnamese Communist government. Please listen. Dear Master, yesterday it was great to see you stay healthy at the headquarters and have a live stream to talk about the situation in the country, especially due to the Wuhan Corona flu problem that is breaking out in the world and in Vietnam. We are a group of your disciples. Recently, all of your systems were closed due to the spreading of the Corona flu in the United States, so we would not come to see you in person. We are writing a letter to ask you to explain why U.S. President Donald Trump vowed to eradicate the social countries of Vietnam, China, and North Korea, yet still provide support to the Vietnamese government of $37 million to prevent the corona disease. How could President Donald Trump, such a talented person, could not see clearly the stories of bribery, pocketing aid money to buy villas and to enjoy pleasures on the blood and bones of its people? We are very disappointed. Master, please clarify this matter. If it is not clear, we would not vote for U.S. President Donald Trump because he is helping the Vietnamese communists. If we say something offensive to your point of view, I hope you will please forgive us. We want to hear your thoughts about this matter. Signed by a group of Buddhist followers, disciples of Venerable, who are living in California. We wish you peace and health. Honestly, this is a U.S. strategy. You see that the United States has a plan to return to Vietnam. The U.S. has been using the stick and carrot policy since the Communist government of Vietnam declared to have stopped the Wuhan corona flu epidemic. Those 16 people have been cured, and Vietnam had developed a medicine against the coronavirus. Vietnam announced they have a way to treat corona flu. Immediately, the U.S. has used a stick by removing Vietnam from the list of countries that will receive the funding aid of $8.3 billion. The U.S. Congress has just passed this funding aid. In addition, the amount of $50 billion from the International Monetary Fund will provide assistance to dozens of countries that are suffering from the Wuhan coronavirus attack to prevent the epidemic spreading worldwide. Recently, Vietnam has declared that Vietnam is again infected with the flu. This morning, they officially announced that 25,000 people were infected with the corona flu. There are 25,000 people being infected, and Vietnam says that the number is increasing day by day. The number of people being treated is up to several dozen people, which is 35 to 40 people. However, this number keeps increasing. The President of the United States relies on the numbers that the Viet Cong has admitted to having tens of thousands of people infected with the corona Wuhan flu. The United States then introduced the carrot immediately, which is a $37 million from the United States budget, not from the International Monetary Fund money to aid the Viet Cong. One thing I want to make clear to this group of disciples who wrote this letter or this email is that the U.S. aid money cannot be easily bribed to eat or to spend as a personal pleasure. It cannot be pocketed to buy villas or to hang out. It is impossible. When the United States gives $37 million in aid, it would not immediately hand $37 million to Nguyễn Xuân Phúc or to Vũ Đức Đàm or Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân to enjoy. I remind you, that is not the way. The U.S. government has a legislative, and judicial nature. President Donald Trump would never make a mistake in this aid issue. The United States funding aid will be distributed as follows. This amount will be divided into three parts. The first part of the aid, for example, $12 million, and there will be a U.S. delegation of the Disease Prevention Organization, CDC, with a team of 25 to 50 people will be present in Vietnam. They will observe and follow closely. This funding will be calculated based on the amount of prevention medicine and protective gear for doctors, equipment systems for the hospital with isolation rooms. It will not be given directly to Nguyễn Xuân Phúc or to Nguyễn Phú Trọng or Vũ Đức Đàm or Thuan or whoever to spend on themselves. The United States never give money indiscreetly. President Trump won't do that. If he does, the Democrats would take advantage of his actions and tear him apart. They would taunt his integrity. I say 100% of the U.S. funding aid will be monitored by a control committee. This committee, for example, would carry out, build an airlift bridge and shipment. Those imported goods will be monitored by the committee. A team of the U.S. CDC will be present in Vietnam. This team would control and monitor the distribution to Cho Rei Hospital. There will also be another team at Cho Rei Hospital to inspect. How much is distributed at Binh Dong Hospital? How much at Cho Quan Hospital? At Thong Nhat Hospital? And how much for 108 hospitals? Every center to prevent disease has people from the United States, CDC, and people from the WHO. Rest assured, the U.S. money is controlled by the United States. It is a very beneficial fortune for Vietnam. What is the benefit? People in the country will be saved. As a Buddhist Bhikkhu, I put the Vietnamese national interest first, and all the followers of Master Thong Lai think as if you are still in Vietnam. You will be taken into the isolation center of the Viet Cong. There is no medicine to treat you. As you get your treatment, then you have to pay. Each day at the quarantine center costs 150 to 2,000 dong. Then, where did you get the money to pay for isolation? As you face the death, the President of the United States is sending an amount of 37 million on medical aid and testing machines to immediately determine who gets sick and treat you at an early stage. As you indebted to the U.S. government. Are you in debt to the U.S. government? The Vietnamese people know very well that the U.S. government has enough money, scientific and technical qualification. Only the medical qualification, U.S. doctors can cope with this coronavirus. Could the Vietnamese people trust the Minister of Health, Vũ Đức Đam, who does not have a professional qualification and was appointed by the party? Would you believe the reports were tested by police officers rather than the medical professionals? Vietnamese people don't believe in doctor's degree. Fake doctor's degree in Vietnam accounts for 80%. Where are my decibels? We must put the health and lives of the Vietnamese people first. You must do something to benefit the Vietnamese people, not to get hurt, and to prevent the Vietnamese from dying massively as seen in Wuhan and in Iran. That is the mission of the Vietnamese people. Master Thong Lai is a Vietnamese, and you are his disciples. You have to see the first thing. I assure you that the U.S. government is aware of the stories of bribery, and the U.S. government also knows of the luxurious lives of its top leaders. It was not normal for the United States to sign a check of $37 million and give it to Nguyễn Xuân Phúc, Nguyễn Phú Trọng, and Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân to buy a royal mission and to have a mistress or two wives. First benefit is that the people of Vietnam will be saved. Regardless of whether the people are from the north, central, or the south, as long as they are Vietnamese, they will be rescued from this great disaster. The U.S. helps because of compassion and mercy. I am very happy to see President Trump ask the Congress for $37 million in aid from the United States taxpayer. But the U.S. won't just hand over the check to Nguyễn Xuân Phúc or Wu Đúc Đầm. There is no such thing. The United States work with regulations, legislative and executive and judicial. The first benefit is that the Vietnamese will stop this epidemic. Vietnamese people will be saved. You can see that Vietnamese people always have feelings for the United States, and the United States is far away. The U.S. Embassy currently in Vietnam only does things about diplomat, visa, and immigration documents. Vietnamese people have no access to the U.S. consulate except for prisoners of conscience such as Tran, Nguyen Duy Thuc, Mother Mushroom, and Tran Thi Nga. When the United States needs pressure to demand human rights, 95 million people cannot afford to contact the U.S. government. Only those who have relatives in the United States, in Canada, or have relatives abroad to sponsor for immigration. These people have the opportunity to enter the U.S. consulate. Now the United States has sent the Roosevelt aircraft carrier, but the Vietnamese communists still has not awakened, and dare not to do anything. Is there any other way to help the United States reach the Vietnamese people, or to bring a United States government delegations to Vietnam to help the Vietnamese people? This is the only way. By giving a carrot policy of $37 million will allow the United States to return to Vietnam. A team of the U.S. CDC will be present in Vietnam. It's not only just a province. This $37 million is the first emergency amount to stop the spreading of the coronavirus. The whole Vietnamese people will be saved. Many Vietnamese people are counting and waiting for the world, especially overseas Vietnamese community, to do something to save the Vietnamese people. This is not the time for me to condemn communism or curse communism. It is not the time because the Wuhan virus is devastating the Vietnamese people. Millions of Vietnamese will die. So the first benefit of the U.S. fund aiding is to help our Vietnamese people escape the genocide. The Vietnamese overseas or in the country must see this benefit clearly. When this $37 million is not enough because the communists are always greedy about money, the image of a delegation of 68 U.S. state doctors follow the distribution of the funding aid by dispensing protective suits to hospitals, medicine for people who are in isolation or infected with the corona flu. Is it possible for the communists pocketing money when the United States was there? Can the communist member ever tell someone if they can give this American medicine or the protective suit the people need to be bribed $1 million or $2 million down? That will not happen when the United States is there. Certainly, the Hanoi communists did not dare to do such things. While having the flu, the Vietnamese are entitled to benefit that will be treated with modern medicine, money, strong medical background, and by the hands of good American doctors. You should not think that the police dare to arrest the people, or they can take advantage of it by bringing some of its relatives in to get early treatment. There is also some benefits if they bring their relatives in for early treatment. Why? These parents had children working as a police officer or commanders of the People Army Military Region. Their parents figured that the Chinese communists discharged poison and brought over the virus while in the United States, giving money, medicine, and bringing doctors to save them. From that, they can clearly see who the friends is and who the foe is. From ancient times until now, Mao Zedong and Xi Jinping have repeatedly ordered the Vietnamese traders to respect the 12 golden words and appreciate China. As you can see, every time Xi Jinping visits Vietnam, he is not welcomed by the Vietnamese people. Unlike when the President of the United States went to visit Vietnam, was there any Chinese Communist delegation welcomed by the people as they welcomed the U.S. sailors in Da Nang Harbor? This shows that the Vietnamese people are not very much towards the United States of America. This shows that the Vietnamese people are now very much towards the United States of America. However, the United States withdrew from Vietnam a long time ago, approximately 45 years ago. This is a great opportunity for the United States to send a U.S. team into Vietnam through the CDC organization through a $37 million package. The United States will be able to operate legally in that country. The Providence started to ask the United States to provide more help. From then on, people in remote areas would have access to the work of the U.S. government. The Hanoi communists want to keep their faith, so they will not dare to make stories of bribery and corruption. The first benefit is that the Vietnamese people will not be genocide because of the epidemic was admitted through 6 border gates by the hands of the 3 leaders, Nguyễn Phú Trọng, Nguyễn Xuân Phúc, and Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân. That is the strategy of the United States. That is the policy of the U.S. government. The U.S. states could not enter Vietnam. Communist China, it has been in Vietnam for decades. Honestly, all the high-ranking leaders, like Nguyễn Xuân Phúc, knew that the United States is a great place. Otherwise, his son already enrolled in Chinese university. But he can't dismount from riding the back of the tiger. So, Nguyễn Xuân Phúc and Nguyễn Thăng Đông, where are their children? Where are their children studying? Where did he invest his house? Nguyễn Xuân Phúc family and Thanh Đông family knows who is good and who is bad. However, if Nguyễn Xuân Phúc stepped down, then Chinese communists would kill him immediately. And for a few months now, Phu Trong has fled. Fake or real, Phu Trong, you can decide for yourself. But now he doesn't dare come out. Anywhere he appears, there must be a police team to protect him, along with undercover agents as well. Who knows for sure that among these police officers, some of them might already carry coronavirus. So it is best for him to disappear and to dive deep. When Phu Trong has to appear for giving his speech, there must be a contingent of security guards and undercover police. Nguyễn Phú Trọng does not dare to speak in hall because he is afraid that police might have coronavirus too. Don't ever think that Nguyễn Xuân Phúc likes Chinese communists. If he really likes Chinese communists, why won't his children study at Peking University? Instead, his son bought houses in California. So this is an opportunity for the United States to enter the country of Vietnam legally. I talked to my American friends. They said the first package will be $12 million that will be distributed, and the second package will come. It will then be dispersed in Hanoi and Saigon. Then Nha Trang and Da Nang. Eventually, all 60 provinces will receive the funding aid as well. When the number of U.S. doctors and staff, I think about 50, goes to help the Vietnamese government to stop this flu, they must have a place to stay. The housing must be safe to stay. The United States will buy some hotel. The United States must have guard to protect. The Marines of the United States protect not only the consulate, but also have the strength to protect the U.S. CDC personnel because, at that time, there will be over 100 people present at multiple locations. They do not trust in the protection of the Viet Cong police force. They had to protect themselves with their Marines. You will see people who have good feelings for the United States in the country. You will see it clearly. These traders riding in the back of tigers such as Nguyen Thi Kim Ngang, Nguyen Dong Phuc will not dare to take sides of with the United States, obviously. But then, look closely. Where are their children? Where did they buy their houses? If they reveal that they want to take sides with the U.S., they will be immediately killed by the Chinese communists. During times like this, it is very easy to get killed. Just a few coronavirus can do this job, so they are really scared. I made it clear that all the regional commanders of the People's Army were now being suppressed by the Chinese communists, but the providential police still have their power. This is the occasion when the United States will return to Vietnam with a delegation of righteous word through the aid of $37 million to stop the pandemic. In the United States, the Americans do not hand over their money easily. Give the check to Nguyen Dong Phuc so he can do whatever he wants, like buying a few more villas on Huntington Beach in California, or give to Kim Ngang, who is the Vietnamese Speaker of the House, to rent airplanes and send the relatives to South Korea. Or give Vu Duc Dong so he can pocket the money for his personal pleasure. Or give it to Tuan so he can have a few more mistresses and pay for his golf membership that cost a few billion. That is not the way. The United States control the funding aid meticulously. When the United States provide weapons by selling F-35s to Turkey, they clearly stated that the weapons will not be used to attack the Kurdish, but must only be used as self-defense. Ignoring the agreement, Turkey used the F-35 for airstrike on Kurdish residents. The United States immediately announced that Turkey has violated the Arms Trade Treaty, and the United States cut off the agreement, not providing F-35s to Turkey. Although Turkey is not an U.S. ally, the United States is still firm with Turkey. Do not worry about aiding these corrupted communists. The United States has their own way in which they can control this amount of aid. You can see clearly, Turkey brought weapons without proper use. The United States sells only F-35s to help Turkey to protect its borders, to protect Turkey's airspace. They do not sell F-35s to bombard innocent Kurdish civilians. The United States immediately cut its F-35 trade agreement with Turkey. You see clearly that many Iranians have died from the flu. Images of Iranian people falling dead in the streets have been posted on the global internet. Iran is sending telegrams asking the U.S. to provide emergency aid for Iran to stop the corona flu. The United States had not yet responded. Why is the United States immediately providing $37 million to Vietnam? Because this is an American carrot and stick campaign. The United States has withdrawn Vietnam from the list of development countries. Prime Minister Nguyen Dong Phuc was bragging how Vietnam is a rich country. He said Vietnam has surpassed Singapore in the last 2 years. Vietnam is as rich as Singapore. As a result, Vietnam is no longer listed as a poor country and no longer can be exempt from taxes. Do you see how the United States had closed the border since today? The U.S. President declared that 27 countries in Europe could not travel to the United States within 30 days, starting exactly at midnight tonight. Stopping flights from Europe to the United States is not a big deal. Not many flights from Africa to the United States. Their flights are very small. The number of passengers coming to the United States from Australia is also very small. But how many people come to the U.S. every day from but the whole European continent? Between hundreds of thousands to 1 million passengers travel to the United States. Thousands of flights were canceled because the United States limited its airspace. All 27 countries in Europe airport cannot enter the United States from here until the next 30 days. Who will suffer? European countries will be suffering. England is the only country that is not affected by the closing of the borders of the United States because Britain is an ally of the United States. Britain has withdrawn from the European Union. This is a United States sanction in Germany. Although the United States was stationed in Germany to protect Germany from Russian invasion, Germany has recently been arrogant toward the United States. The United States has given preferential relations to Germany, France, and Italy. Yet France, Germany, and Italy shook hands with the Chinese communists and despised the United States. But remember, when the United States closes all airports, it will prevent European countries from going to the United States in any situation. The United States is placing sanctions on European countries by using the coronavirus outbreak without being condemned by the world. That is the consequence Germany and France needs to face when they do business with the Chinese communists. In the next 30 days, Germany and other European countries will suffer. The United States will take some loss as well, but that does not matter. The amount of goods the United States produce and sell to Europe is 20%. The volume of goods in European countries sold to the United States was 80%. The United States has enough products and can afford to feed its people without having to import for at least 3 years. You should remember that the U.S. agriculture industry is still selling millions and tons of wheat to the Soviet Union. Since the Cold War, hundreds of millions of tons of wheat have been sold to Russia. Without the United States wheat, Russia would be famine in the winter. President Trump closes the U.S. border with Europe. Each country has several dozen flights, and dozens and hundreds of flights will be canceled. Although the United States had made a loss, the United States still has to close its borders to protect the health of the American people. The United States is not like the Vietnamese Communist government. It continues to open its borders to allow the coronavirus to enter the country. This time, the Vietnamese people, from the poor to the descendants of the Communist Party members, will see that the American way of doing things are fair and equal. In Vietnam, they would distribute all medicine, all equipment, for the sole purpose of preventing the Wuhan corona flu outbreak in Vietnam. The first beneficiary are the poor Vietnamese who cannot afford treatment. They will be treated by a U.S. doctor, and they will have the best American medicine. They escape this great tribulation. I am Vietnamese. I put the life of the Vietnamese people of Vietnam above other matters. Now let's talk about genocide. The Vietnamese people will die in a mass without emergency aid of the U.S. 37 million by President Donald Trump. I asked this group of Buddhist followers who wrote this letter to use their compassion to think about the rights of Vietnamese people. If you were still in the country, how sad would it be to see other Vietnamese do not want these money to save the people to survive this pandemic? Don't worry, the U.S. will never give $37 million into Nguyễn Xuân Phúc, Nguyễn Thông Đông, or to Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân, or to any leaders in the political ministry and hospital directors. The United States will present itself in every way in isolation places for poor Vietnamese people without medicine. Sincerely, I will continue to update this important situation that affects the Vietnamese people. I am very glad that the people in the country will have the opportunity to be cured when infected with the corona flu. I speak from my heart as a Vietnamese. I cannot be happy to see my people collapse on the street because of the epidemic. I am very happy to know that my people will have a chance to escape this outbreak. Sincerely yours to my disciple and all the people who are watching. The United States will spread its arms to save the people. I guarantee the U.S. government is very well informed about the corrupt situation of the Communist government of Vietnam. The U.S. government is holding a list of names whose children are studying in the United States. The United States know exactly the information and all of the taxable properties of Nguyen Xuan Phoc's son. How much does he have to pay for property tax every year? What school does his son go to study? The Vietnamese Communists dare not to mess around with the U.S. because the United States is always holding the handle of the sword. President Trump is preparing a bill that all the communists who were sworn into citizenship without leaving the Communist Party and have been working for the Communist Party for the past 10 years without declaring, President Trump would have a law to strip the citizenship status of these undercover communists. Because they took oaths in the U.S. court without notifying that they have served the communists for the past 10 years. Keep your mind at peace. President Trump will win the election again. So people said earlier that they won't vote for President Trump this time. You have to rethink about Donald Trump is doing something beneficial for the Vietnamese people. This is the first step of the U.S. government to be present in Vietnam to serve the people in the country. There are party members who look at the situation of Chinese communists are about to collapse and want to side with the United States. When the U.S. delegation entered Vietnam to monitor the funding aid amount, not only doctors, but also some intelligence agencies of the Ministry of Defense staff, they will link up with people so that they will hold strong cards to play when the Chinese communists collapse and the Viet Cong falls. The United States will return to Southeast Asia. You can clearly see that Iran is in need of this aid money, but the United States does not give it. Why is that? The United States set a priority for Vietnam due to its carrot and stick policy. The stick has already been given. Therefore, the carrot must be rewarded. The Vietnamese people will be saved. Congratulations to the people in the country. May the peace be with you. Although the Communist has been calling for the reception of the Chinese Communist president from Deng Xiaoping to Xi Jinping for decades, the number of people who came to welcome them were only forced Communist members. However, the people were welcoming the President of the United States with their hearts. Best regards.